took me out. Oh, there we go. All right, everybody. Welcome to the first edition of Dr. Jeff and Friends. I am so excited to be able to do this tonight. I have been wanting to do a podcast now for probably several years. And I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then there's been some recent changes, and I decided that today is the day that I want to start this. And I initially was going to do it once a month, and I've had people reach out. So it's going to be every 2 weeks. It'll be on Thursday nights every 2 weeks. Dr. Jeff and Friends. And what it's going to be not just another LifeVantage talk. It's not going to be just another health talk. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring in doctors and clinicians and leaders in healthcare that are really trying to go against the traditional healthcare system and really start looking at things that really actually work in healthcare. For those of you that know me and have been following me for a long time, you know that I'm completely anti-big pharma, anti-big medicine, anti-big insurance. And these are the people that I'm going to bring on. And for a little housekeeping, so if you want notified of my podcast, when it's going to be, who my guests are going to be, either reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, send me a message, send me your email address, and I'll put you on an email list. Or you can just send me an email. You can send it to drjeff, Dr. Jeff, drjeff at drjeffeffect, EFFECT. So Dr. Jeff at Dr. Jeff Effect, and that will get you invites every 2 weeks to these calls. I figured I'd start off with some people that are very near and dear to my heart. Some of the people I think are some of the smartest people in LifeVantage. They are one former member of the Scientific Advisory Board and three people that are currently on the Scientific Advisory Board with me. And tonight it's going to be very, very simple. I'm going to ask each of my guests two questions. First question is going to be, why did you say yes to LifeVantage? And then the second question is, why are you still here today? And I think that's going to be very interesting. I know my story has changed. I'm going to close with my story. I'm going to let my guests take it from this point. And so let me go
I'm
ahead.
muted.
I'm muted. How's it going? Hey, I'm Jewel.
Let me go ahead and introduce my guests. So first guest tonight is Dr. Nancy Bryan. Dr. Bryan is a doctor of pharmacy and pharmacology. She is a nutrigenomic educator. She has designed and formulated products. She's a 15-year breast cancer and melanoma warrior. She's been very involved in LifeVantage now for almost 10 years. Our second guest is a husband and wife couple. They are currently on the Scientific Advisory Board with me. They're coming to us from Northern California, from the wine country. I'm a little jealous that even though I live in Florida where it's beautiful, I am jealous of Dr. Joe and Maria Cutler for Maria, both chiropractors. Specialize in wellness care and rehabilitation. They've been married for 25 years. They have two amazing adult children. They've been in LifeVantage for about 7.5 years, and I'm proud to call them friends and colleagues on the Scientific Advisory Board. And then last but not least, Dr. Jessica Buhler, married to her husband Matt, 5 children, another chiropractor, completely opposite from me. She's up in central South Dakota, where it's probably still snowing. We had almost 90 today, so we'll have to have her tell where she's at. She has certifications in acupuncture, allergy. She has been LifeVantage for 9 years and serves with me on the Scientific Advisory Board. So let's welcome these wonderful guests. I'm going to go ahead and because Dr. Nancy is the one that's not seeing patients. She's more on the research and formulation side of this. Dr. Nancy, can you start with telling us what brought you to LifeVantage? Why are you here?
Oh my goodness. First and foremost, I'm the worst at technology, so I hope you can hear me and see me.
We can. We
Oh,
can.
perfect. Perfect. Well, you know what? It was uh, just real quick background. Before I went to pharmacy school, I had a master's in molecular biochemistry. So I always saw things differently. And like you, up front, I'm going through pharmacy school going, the answer to our bodies is not medications. It's not chemistry. And so all the way through pharmacy school, I really struggled, but I'm like, okay, I'm here. I got to get this done. And I did. And then when I got out of school, the first thing I did was decide I wanted to go more into could I do formulas and that kind of thing. So I went to work for Eli Lilly. Okay. And when I went to work for Eli Lilly, I was their first female sales rep. And I went there because they specialized in diabetes, and that was the chemistry of diabetes is what drove me. So fast forward, I got through that. That was not a good match either. Then I left that and decided to start doing my own formulas. And with all of that going on in my life, what I didn't do is take care of myself, and I ended up with breast cancer and a severe form of melanoma. At that point, I had tried many things and I didn't want to go through all the traditional treatments, and I was not given a very good prognosis, bad gene in my family. And so, guess what? This is the important part. The person that shared the information with me looking at this and why I looked at it, he was a surfer. Believe it or not, a surfer, not a chemist, not a scientist, nothing like that. But he wanted my opinion on what I thought, what he saw, if it made sense. And I have to tell you what brought me to it and what made me say yes to taking the product up front was when I saw what we did and the care that they took when they put the products together. They went all the way to wherever they were buying the nutrients and the raw ingredients, and they tested to make sure the activity was there. Nobody does that. Nobody. And so when I saw that, I knew that if I got started on these products, I could expect the same result over and over. And you don't see that in nutrient companies very often.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And not to cut you off, but I absolutely want to say that one of the things that I think is amazing about LifeVantage, and we have over 50 people on the call tonight, and maybe some of the people don't understand this, but our products are tested not once, not twice, but 3 times. They are tested raw products, then the product themselves are tested, and then the products themselves are tested with other products to see what the synergies are. No other company does that. And so if you're here, and I think probably everybody in the call, although you're allowed to invite people that are prospects, if you don't understand that, that's why we are in a special place. We're truly in a special place. Go ahead, Nikki.
Absolutely. Well, that was absolutely it for me. And then I will tell you, I had no interest whatsoever in building a business whatsoever. I had no, frankly, I wanted to live. I wanted to feel better. I was in a very bad place, but it didn't take very long for my body to respond. And when your own body starts activating and you can see that as a scientist and know that the real things are happening again, it just kind of blew my mind. And then I felt like, oh my gosh, now I have a moral obligation because there's so many doctors out there, there's so many patients out there, there's so many people out there that don't know they have these options. They don't know that there's other things besides just taking chemicals. And so for me, I thought, with my background, this would be a perfect place for me to be able to share for people to understand what they could have. And so after I had actually taken the product for probably about a year before I got started, and you know what? Then I just the second thing that did it for me then is I had a friend with a daughter with severe autism, severe, and she was really struggling. And she called me one day just in a panic that Child Protective Services were going to take her. And I just literally grabbed my stuff and ran over to her house and I told her, I said, I don't know anything else that can help you, but let's try this and see if we can do some things. And within a few days, she had changed so much. Her little body was getting what it needed. And when those things happened, her mom was able to communicate with her better. And the Child Protective Services came, but they saw and assessed that it was good. And today, this is a gal that's in her 20s that helps her mom cook in the kitchen, and she is having a vibrant life. Yes, she's still autistic. Yes, she still has struggles, but her body is living the best that it can be. And for me, every time I go in every year to get all my checkups, they can't believe how normal all of my cells are, because they never were normal my whole life. And now I have such great blood work and feel great. And obviously I'm running around all over the world. So that for me was the big key, is I
And I
wanted to
know
be
the
able.
answer, but what was the first product that you started on?
Oh, it was definitely NRF2 Pro Tandem.
Yeah.
At the time when I started, because it's been a while, we didn't have a lot of products. We had NRF2, we had NRF1, and then we had Axio. And that pretty much was it. That's why down the road, I got very active and involved with putting together some of our products that we utilize, like our D3 and our Reset PM and Reset AM, because I knew to optimize what our body is using from the ability of the NRF2 to clean out the cells, and the NRF1 to give the cell mitochondrial strength again. I knew the important thing was, okay, what other things do we need so that those cells communicate and work well together? And there's so many parts of chemistry I don't want to bore people with, but the bottom line is we don't just make products to make products. To your point, we're adding products that our bodies are needing because we're not getting it through our food sources. And
No,
so
absolutely.
for me, that was the key. It was about proper bone strength. If you have good bones, guess what? Your bones are your bank. That's where all the nutrients and enzymes and all the things have to get communication between your organs and your bones. And that gives you great brain health. So for me, that was a big key.
And why are you here today?
Oh gosh, my passion for seeing people have their lives change, and also the ability to have, oh my gosh, who has the ability to be in a business where you can go wherever you want to? I love this. I love what I do. I've been to so many countries. I've been able to travel. I'm in Kentucky right now, where, by the way, I do take care of a lot of the horses here. And some of you might know this big thing called the Derby next week. Nutrients work for animals, mammals, humans, okay? And the bottom line is, I have the ability that I can go where I want to because of this business. It allows me to have that freedom. I'm not stuck in a building having to be just a formulator or just be a pharmacist or just be a pharmacologist. I have the ability to get out and to make other people's lives better. And for me, that's the bottom line. This really truly was about, how can I make other people's lives better? First, their bodies activating, and second, also giving them the options and choices I have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Nancy. Who would like Dr. Nancy and I to do a Dr. Jeff and Friends podcast on AM and PM reset, talking about vitamins and what vitamins can do for your body? Something that we typically don't talk about. And we're getting, like, every guess is popping up in the chat box. So that might be coming up sometime in the next couple months. That may be coming up. We're going to go now to Dr. Jess. Dr. Jess has to be on the first Dr. Jeff and Friends podcast. Because when we were on the Alaska cruise, somebody came up to me and said, "Oh my God, I just met your daughter in the spa." My daughter wasn't on the cruise. And so it was obviously Dr. Jess's daughter, not Dr. Jeff's daughter. So I thought that was always interesting. It took me about a day to figure out who they were confusing me with, but I finally figured it out. So, Dr. Jess, same question. What brought you here?
So I thought this was going to be another baggie on my desk that I threw away at the end of the week. And so when I was approached, it was also by someone like a friend of a friend kind of a thing. They were just in town for Memorial Day weekend. And I thought maybe she had an injury. So again, I guess I can refer back to Nancy's in that it is, if you're in that right time moment, it really doesn't matter who that person is. It was there. It's just that if it's the right time for them, it's the right time to talk to them. So, yeah. So this was what I kind of call an answer to two different prayers. And because it was the science, obviously, that had me say yes. It was the studies. And that was the question I asked her was, does it have any studies? I watched the ABC clip. I'm like, okay, what is this? Like, what's going on? Like, I thought she was there to, receive a treatment. And then it was kind of like, not really bait and switch, but just like, she just wanted to talk. Right. And, asked if there was research. She said she would email it to me. And then much like Dr. Jeff, I didn't look at the email and didn't look at and then she kept emailing and she kept emailing and she kept emailing. And my office manager was like, hey, are you ever going to look at this or should I just tell her you're not interested right now? And I said, well, I'm like, what is she emailing about? And she said, well, she said you asked her to send her research. So and I'm like, are there studies? And she said, yes. So kind of started with 3 studies that she sent me. But the backwards part of that prayer is, I lost my best friend to cancer, about 10 months before I was introduced to this. And I remember praying and I really thought it was an unanswered prayer. Like that was just going to be, that was it. This was just God's will. And I'm like, okay, God, there has got to be something more powerful, something that works faster to get people better results in a shorter period of time. I was in charge of her nutrition from 10 hours away. And at the time of her death, she was taking 9 of the 10 components of NRF2 and NRF1 in therapeutic dosing based on my research and my recommendations. So I actually was kind of mad, if I'm honest, when I started reading the NRF2 study. I was like, how did I not find this? Like, this is nuts. Okay, so that was one prayer. And then reading the study, showing oxidative stress's role and the genes that can be impacted positively with specifically our patented product with NRF2 activation with colon cancer, Alzheimer's, and heart disease. My grandpa had like 5 heart attacks at that time. My grandma was suffering with Alzheimer's. And I was doing, again, all the research, finding things, trying them out, seeing what happens, what produced results, what was still stuck. And so that study was huge for me. And then the study done by Biogenet on Tecfidera and the production of the oligodendrocyte from NRF2 activation, specifically with our product. Never have I ever then or before now seen a drug company do a study on a natural product in comparison to theirs and find the natural product to be the most potent inducer, the most powerful product.
And admit it.
Yeah.
I mean, the big thing is yeah, they did the study, they compared it, ours was better, and they didn't fudge their data. They admitted it, which is crazy.
Yeah, it was so cool. So that was one. I read the other study she sent, and then I did my own research. I got into PubMed searching for that specific product. I searched on Google. I found one of the most well-known chiropractors and speakers internationally who I held to a really high standard. And he served on the scientific advisory board at one point and still uses the product. I got to see him. Like I intentionally booked a conference of his after that to go see like, what's the story here, and he still takes the product. But anyway, I found a webinar he gave on NRF2 and NRF1 as well. And just everything I looked, I kept getting more validation. What I didn't have validation on was network marketing. I actually knew nothing about network marketing. I mean, sure, I've been invited to like so-and-so's house for a party. And if I had to buy another Pampered Chef thing or Tupperware bin that I didn't need, but I bought because they invited me and I went, and like, I didn't realize that going to Sally's party and buying the thing from her was actually network marketing. I know it's silly. People are like, you really had no idea. Zero idea it was network marketing. So
we all have a lot of Pampered Chef and Tupperware stuff in our house.
Yes. So there was this moment of like, when I finally got through, then I'm messaging all my colleagues. I'm like, hey, have you heard of this product? Like I'm reading through this research and I'm just like, I cannot believe they don't teach this in chiropractic school or at any of our CEUs. Like this is about the patients, people need this, you know? And they're like, Jess, you're the nerd. We haven't opened a research journal or a book since we graduated. They're like, if we wanted advice, we'd be calling you. Like, you don't call us for this. They're like, but it sounds good, you know? Let us know how it goes. That was literally the call. Every single person I called. And then I call her and I'm like, okay, so what do I have to do with this? Because I want a lot of this. Like I want to, if this is real, I am going to bless a lot of people with this product. And she's like, you know, you can just do it however you want to do it. So that was the start. Basically the studies, my own research, and having done all the bootleg research in the past, that was definitely there. And then I think to answer your second part of the question, that's the other unanswered prayer. Yeah. What keeps me here? And that was about January before I was introduced. I was, you know, instead of doing my goals for the year, I was like, just praying like, okay, God, like waiting list practice, 4 little kids, a husband who was always working, never home. And I'm like, man, what I had left over to give my family was very little. And then it was just burning both ends of the clock. And I remember praying, like, if this is successful, God, like, show me something else, because I do not want to be successful anymore. And so the business has brought me a lot of things I had yet to realize it could. But so it started with just telling people, and I literally, this is how I would describe the business to people. Well, like, you saw what it is, right? Like, you'd be an idiot to say no to it, the products, right? And once you know about it, it's a moral obligation to share it with others. So I literally thought everyone would do what I did, see it and tell every person they knew about it, and think the person was stupid if they said no. Literally, that's what I thought would happen to people. And do you think that's what happened? Like, no. I would tell people, the more you share, the more you get paid, because that's as much as I knew about the compensation plan. So I had to go back to school to learn about the industry. Beautiful. This is the most beautiful industry and way to do business I have yet to see. So what the business has brought me is definitely the extra income source, right? Like that's just there, but it's the impact. So in my office, I was doing that one-on-one. And yet you can only, that's like adding, right? And in this business, it literally is like multiplying. If I can teach someone else to share it, I can impact someone I never even knew. And that was the beautiful thing of the business, is having a huge impact in a shorter period of time. The financial, the leveraged income, the leveraging of your time, big too. Traveling with this company, whew, wait till you get to the executive ranks. I mean, you can travel on your own. You totally can. You can have an extravagant trip. But when you travel with LifeVantage, they take it to the next level. Like, imagine getting there and there's someone holding a sign with your name, and everything is like over the top amazing. Like little gifts, especially thought of, like every single detail is there for you. And you're surrounded with people that think just like you, even if they're not on your team, they're on Team LifeVantage, which is your team. So traveling with them, traveling before LifeVantage sucked. It was so stressful, you guys. When you own your own business, if you don't show up, you don't get paid, but you still have the same overhead.
Absolutely true.
You jam everybody in before you spend the first 2 days of your trip just kind of decompressing for what happened to you before you left. And then you go and then you get back and it's the same thing. Overload again. And it just really was like, is this even really worth it kind of feeling? So definitely travel in both ways, travel this next level with LifeVantage, and traveling, even just having LifeVantage on board, or like for the dig your well before you're thirsty kind of theory, like what happens when life happens and can you afford to go? And or like the plan B, like can I support my family if my husband passes before me? And what will my husband do if I pass? My business is worth about 50% less in 30 days when I pass.
Yeah.
Because unless a chiropractor takes it over, it has no value in 90 days. I got to see that firsthand. So it's that planning ahead of like, doesn't matter what profession you're in, but like, can you make your ends meet without your spouse's income? And can they make it the other way? And what is that lifestyle you want to lead? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind for your kids or your family or whoever it is your desire to leave a legacy for? Because you get to choose. But yeah, that's what's kept me here.
And what are your main go-to I mean, what's in your medicine cabinet? What do you take every day?
Okay, so I'm an activator all the way kind of girl. So Tri-Synergizer, collagen, Axio P84 every single day. Never miss. A lot of times I try Synergizer and collagen twice a day, and P84. Coming back from travel, I'm doing that twice.
Yeah.
And then we have
travel plays a havoc on our gut. I mean,
yeah,
P84 is amazing for
amazing.
Amazing for that.
And you know, like even if you eat clean as you can when you're traveling, you still have variables that are out of your control.
Right.
So just there's I mean, we have every product LifeVantage has in the cabinet. And we all, I mean, there's 7 of us. And so when people talk about how expensive the products are, I'm like, imagine how expensive it is if you're sick. Imagine how expensive it is if your life sucks every day. Imagine how, I mean, there's expense or there's investment. And I think it's a huge investment in health. So yeah.
Yeah, and your comment about the extra money. I mean, knowing that on the 15th of every month we get mailbox money. I mean, we know that check's going to be there, and that's if we take a week off. I mean, everybody on this call was in Vegas. All the speakers tonight were in Vegas last weekend, and we were still making money when we were in Vegas, which is my office wasn't making any money. Nobody was working. It was closed, but I know I was still making LifeVantage money, which is truly a blessing. So thank you so much for your story. So now we're going to go to Dr. Maria Cutler, coming to us from beautiful wine country in California. I think her husband might be on, but we'll let her come up with that and let us know.
I'm texting him. He's still treating patients, so I'm texting him like, dude, get in here.
All right. Hopefully we'll get him in there.
This is awesome to see everyone. Oh my goodness. Lots of familiar faces from Vegas. No, we're just so excited to be here and do this with you, Jeff. I'm a fangirl a little bit. For years, I would be on our treadmill and watching recordings of Dr. Nancy Bryan and just trying to memorize over and over again, and Dr. Jessica Buhler, just over and over, like, can I do this? And is this really real? And then meeting you on the incentive cruise, Jeff, and you and your wife. And this is just such a wonderful, amazing group of individuals, whether you're on the SAB, whatever rank you are, LifeVantage has given us a family, a wonderful, loving, healthy community. So I'm just so excited to see all of these faces here. Okay, you guys.
So the first question. The first question is, what brought you here?
What brought us here was the science.
Okay. So,
but let me share a little bit about our story. And this is the part you guys do not do what we did, please. A good friend of ours, a patient of mine, kept saying, she said 5 times, she said, can I please bring in some information to you and Joe for you guys to take a look at that will benefit your patients, will help your patients. It'll be great for your clinic. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And I canceled on her 5 times because I knew it was network marketing. And this new little restaurant opened up in town. We live in wine country, like Jeff said, and this new restaurant opened up in town. And she said, I will bring a salad to the office for you and Joe. And I said, okay, fine. So on the 6th time she came, so I can be bribed by food. And my husband, who hopefully you'll meet in a second, is the kindest, nicest, most generous man with his time and his patience. And he would not even come in the room with Tracy and Michelle. He was like, I'm not doing this. We have alphabet soup after our name. We are not going to put our reputations on the line. And so I watched ABC Primetime Investigative Report I looked at the study, Jess, that you referenced on colon cancer, heart disease, and Alzheimer's. That was impressive. The most impressive thing I heard was an increase in glutathione production by 300%. Just
300%.
blown away by that. Looked at all of that, walked into his treatment room and said, okay, home Visa card or the business Visa card? And he said, put it on the business. And we bought the big premium pack and went home. And Joe and myself, our daughter was 15, our son was 14, and our dog Louie, I think, was 7. We took all the products, we used all the products, and kept our mouths shut for 2.5 years. And I would walk with Michelle Scaff. She's our mentor, our upline. And she's like, what are you doing? Like, your patients need this. And I was like, nope, absolutely not going to do it. Da, da, da. Kept taking the products. Wouldn't even tell. I only told one of my sisters. I'm one of 6. Would only told one of my sisters. Finally, we were walking one day and Michelle goes, then just stop taking the products. And I went, oh my goodness, you are not a good friend. Like, how could you say that? Like, you know what these products do, you know the science and the research. Like, why would you even say that? She's like, well, you're obviously not convicted. And I went home and I was super annoyed. I'm like, Joe, Michelle said this and da da da, and I just don't get it. And he goes, you don't get it because you don't want to get it. And at that point, I needed to get over myself and over my ego and all of that. So, long story long, we slowly rolled out the information to patients, but it was just to patients. We weren't talking about the business. We weren't going to be network marketers. And about 9 months after the True Science Liquid Activating Collagen came around, I'm like, this is ridiculous. That's our number one product, the Healthy Glow Stack for our patients. I'd say probably 95% of our patients take either the Healthy Glow Stack or the the Tri-Synergizer and the Liquid Activating Collagen. I was like, we're being selfish. First of all, as healthcare providers, we all take an oath to do no harm and to do everything in our scope of practice to help our patients. And this is an all natural, I'm trying to be compliant, so hard for me, an all natural solution when you're looking at root causes. Can I say that, Jess? You're nodding your okay. This gives not just options, but it gives a solution to what so many people want and need. So it's the responsible thing for us to do as doctors. But Joe and I are good humans. Jeff, you're a good human. Jess, you're a good human. Nancy, you're a good human. Like, this is the right thing for us to do as people that care about others and to give not only the information on the products, but which is amazing. Being able to say, like, take this is going to work for you, wink, wink. But I remember the first day that I was able to, I'm getting emotional. First day I was able to help a patient who was very, very, very poor. And she trusted us enough to start taking the products and really wanted to share this. But the first day that she was able to get her products paid for, like, that's really stinking cool that you can. I love being a chiropractor. I love putting my hands on my patients, being able to help them, taking this to another level of saying, like, here are these products, these are going to help you. But to be able to help somebody put gas in their car or food on their table or pay for their products, I mean, that was humbling. And so it's really our Joe does a great, he shares a great story, but it's a responsibility, and we really want to make a global impact.
Yeah, I think I love your story. I love that story. People will ask me, and if I don't know how many people saw, I know all my panelists saw my speech to the health professionals on Saturday morning, and I went through a bunch of statistics. But one statistic that I didn't put up there because it was a medical talk was the statistic that bothers me more than any of the healthcare statistics. And that's the fact that 57% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
What does that mean? That means if one of the 2 people in the family lose their job, mom and dad both work outside the home, one of them loses their job, it's bankruptcy in 90 days.
Yep.
That's devastating. That's bigger. That's a
Scary.
bigger stat than any of the healthcare stats, any of the disease stats that I throw out there. So yeah, for you to comment about, seeing your patient be able to make some money back to be able to afford her product is huge, is absolutely huge.
It's huge. And we've all talked about this. If we're not here in the office treating patients, we're not making money.
Right.
I mean, that's just how it is. And so this is a this makes sense. I mean, we were making money when we were in Vegas. I don't know if anybody was in Vegas and saw our daughter. She's like my little mini me. She was the team captain for Division I women's soccer, and we were those parents. I was not going to miss a college game. And because of LifeVantage, we were able to fly all over the country. I mean, we were in Hawaii for the Big West Championship game, which we won. But it's funny, Joe remembers the games and the opponents and all the stats and how our daughter did. I remember who we played based on the hotels that we were at and the Zoom presentations we were doing for our team. Like it's just funny, but being able to have another stream of income. Joe's only in the office 3 days a week. I'm treating patients maybe 5 hours a week, and I get to do this. And so I think it's the perspective of get to we were given this opportunity. Now, what are we going to do with it? And it's just been a blessing.
So the last question is, what's in your medicine cabinet?
Jeff, we take everything, we use everything.
Yeah.
We do. And our son is a junior in college, and I remember he was going off to school, and he's like, "Mom, first of all, Mom, it's too much, and you're weird, and all the science and everything, all that kind of stuff." And I'm like, "Dude, be quiet and just take everything." He was funny. He said, "Okay, I'm going off to college. I'm going to live in the dorms." He goes, "I'm probably not going to be eating healthy, and I'm probably going to be drinking some alcohol." And I said, "Okay," I didn't hear the last part. He said, "I will take Protandim Nrf2, the ProBio, vitamin D, and the liquid collagen." And that is a huge
Yeah.
win for, he was
That,
19 at the time. I'm
that's a
like,
win.
"You've got it."
That's a win.
Our daughter lives at home, and yeah, at least he's honest, Rhonda. She lives at home. She takes everything. We we take when Mind Body came out, we were excited not for the weight management, which I know you've had an amazing story with, but we take it and recommend it for hormone balancing
Yeah.
because you're not, our bodies are so amazing. We're not just activating GLP-1. We are, by doing that, we are balancing out other hormones.
Yeah, no, absolutely so. And I think that's part of my weight loss story. So I don't see Joe in the background, so I'm guessing he's still doing something with a patient. So on that segue, on my weight loss journey segue, I will go ahead and start talking. It's hard for me. Where are we at? 41 minutes. It's hard for me to sit here for 41 minutes and not talk. Everybody that knows me knows that that's absolutely true. So my own question. So what brought me here and why am I still here? Um, I, like a lot of the stories here, I didn't jump in with both feet as soon as somebody told me. Lindy Ritsu, who I'm sure is on this call, Lindy reached out to me at a business networking event and commented me on my shirt. I thought she was hitting on me. I didn't have my wedding ring on. And she said, "I want to come to your office and tell you about some products that I think would fit in with your practice." And I said, "Sure. Talk to my wife, Jennifer. She'll let you come in." I knew Jennifer was going to block her at the door. And she bribed Jennifer with like cookies. And so she got in, she got to my office, my desk. She put the research on. As soon as I looked at some of the flyers and stuff, knew it was network marketing. I'm not opposed to it. I've done it in the past and really like the idea of network marketing. So I looked at it and I said, "Yeah, at 63, I'm not sure I'm interested in another business, but let me look at the products." And she said, "Well, if you read over the research, and I'll come back in a week and see what you think." And so she did, and she came back and she said, "So what do you think?" I said, "The research looks amazing. The liquid collagen looks great. I love the NAD. I love the NRF2." I said, "Yeah, I'm definitely going to take these products." And she said, "Well, what about the business?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm not really interested." And she said, well, why not? And it's like, I just don't know. And she said, well, typical network marketer. She said, well, would you get on a three-way call? Yeah, sure. So she dials the phone, puts the phone down, and there's a female voice on the other end, and it's Tara Wilson. And so Tara and I start talking, and Tara, about 10 minutes into conversation, just stops and says, wait a minute, what was your name again? And I said, Dr. Jeff. And she said, Dr. Jeff, we went to Hawaii together in Montevideo. And so we knew each other. And then she made Lindy leave the room. And then I don't see anybody on here from corporate. So she made Lindy leave the room. And Tara told me that MindBody GLP-1 was going to be announced in 3 days. And so I went to the announcement party. I signed up. And because I have been a fat kid my entire life. I am down 130 pounds since the launch of MindBody. And that brings me down to 204 pounds. I started at 334. So what brought me here? MindBody brought me here. I knew that there was a synergistic effect before the research came out between MindBody and Protandim NRF2. I knew that oxidative stress affects our hormones, and you need that hormone balance before the weight will even start coming off. But that's what brought me here. At 204 pounds, I'm still striving to lose the next 4 pounds because I have not been under 200 pounds since the 8th grade. And so think about that. I was 200 pounds in the 8th grade. I was the fat kid. Now, luckily, I was a fat kid that could play football. So it got me a college scholarship, and it got me noticed by some NFL teams and played a couple years in the NFL. So it was great. But then I went from working out 5 hours a day to sitting in a library 5 hours a day. And so all that muscle went to fat. My biggest was almost 400 pounds. And so I've lost the same 100 pounds probably 10 times in my life. So I was definitely here for Protandim and for MindBody. What keeps me here? And side story that I was telling the panelists earlier, Melody Redarde, who is the chairman of the Scientific Advisory Board, was talking to me 6 years ago about coming to a PRP joint injection workshop that I was hosting. She ended up not coming, but one of her last emails to me was, hey, check out these products. Maybe you might be interested. And I'll be honest, I never even opened up the email. Never, ever even looked until about a year ago. I found the old email and looked, and it was an invitation to join her LifeVantage team. So just think, I could have been here 6 years ago instead of a year and a half ago. So what keeps me here? I think what keeps me here are 2 products and the business. Obviously, I think the business opportunity, I love network marketing. I love getting mailbox money. I love the idea of knowing on the 15th of the month, whether I'm in the office or not, that I'm going to have a deposit onto my credit card on the 15th of every month. That really allows you the freedom and the legacy to know that you're not necessarily tied to the office. If I want to spend an hour with a patient, I can spend an hour with a patient because I'm not trying to see a patient every 6 minutes like the doctors that are in insurance do. It allows me that freedom to really know my patients. If I only want to see 4 patients a day, I can do that because I know I have other sources of income. As far as products, and this is the hard one to stay compliant on, I was warned by compliance earlier today that I was doing this and to try to stay and keep everyone compliant, and they have been. But when I started, like everybody else that were on the call, we got the big box. We got one of everything, and my wife started on Tri-Synergizer. She started taking the liquid collagen. She liked the ideas of fine lines and wrinkles going away. She had some wrinkles on her chest from wearing bathing suit out in the sun. We live in Florida. Those were starting to go away. And I said, at 63, this face is not going to change. not really interested in this whole liquid collagen thing. And she said to me, she said, if you want to do this and you want to go all in, you need to take everything. So I started taking liquid collagen. Now think back, I spent 4 years in high school playing football, 4 years in college playing football, 2 years in the NFL playing football, on the line, on the offensive line. I was a center. So my knees took a lot of damage. And I was anywhere between 330 and 400 pounds for probably 20 plus years of my life. My knees were shot. They hurt. I couldn't go upstairs without holding the handrail and pulling myself up. And I started on all the things, mostly Protandim and liquid collagen are the two that I think I can link to this. But my knee pain went away. Before I even started on Mind Body, I knew about Mind Body in July. I started my products in July. Didn't start Mind Body until October, but my knee pain went away. And I know the chiropractors on here, we've talked and they presented on Saturday. They've had the same kind of results with patients about what it does to joints. And remember that, collagen isn't just in your face. It's just not fine lines and wrinkles. It's not, making you not need your Botox as often. There's collagen everywhere. There's collagen in your eyes. There's collagen in your blood vessels. There's collagen in your tendons, in your ligaments, and the shiny cartilage that is at the end of your joints, the articular cartilage that breaks down from wear and tear, that breaks down from arthritis. That's collagen. And so when I was practicing conventional orthopedics, I got out of conventional orthopedics in 2009 and went more a regenerative route. But when I was in conventional orthopedics, every day somebody would tell me that they read an article, in that great research paper, the National Enquirer, that collagen was good for you, was good for your joints, and should they take it? And they would go to wherever and they'd buy some powdered collagen and they'd come back in a couple months and say it didn't work. And we all know that powdered collagen is only absorbed by about 10%. The rest of it gets excreted out through the digestive tract. But this liquid form is something different. And it has been a godsend to me and to a lot of my patients. It is truly a game changer. So those are probably what keeps me here, that and the business. And I guess it's Joe's turn, but I don't see Joe.
Let me just run and grab him really fast. Keep
All right,
talking.
cool.
Give me
I at
one.
least want a little bit of his story. But I'll keep talking. So if you did not see my talk on Saturday, and because it's supposed to be healthcare professionals, but there's a lot of people that snuck in. I know Michelle Poe's not a healthcare professional, and she was sitting in the middle of the audience. So there he is. I'm going to do that talk because a lot of you haven't seen it, but probably in about a month, I'm going to talk about what has changed between 1975 and 2025 and why Protandim NRF2 has to be in everyone's cabinet. It has to be. It's not an option. It's not maybe. You have to talk to every one of your friends about it, but that's got to be one of my talks. But so before I get off on a tangent, I want to bring on my great friend. He has a great story. He's a great person. He's a great teacher. And so it's all on you.
Well, I don't know about a great teacher, but I'll take the other compliment. Thank you, Dr. Jeff. So for all healthcare providers here in this room, we joke about it all the time with all the healthcare professionals here. Not a great decision to bring a bit, especially a business decision to bring these LifeVantage products into the office because you have such a profound effect and we're really improving the whole organism, right? Cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, organs make up systems. So you're going to get a better human being. So unfortunately, we're not going to see people as much, but they're going to get better. But again, what we know is we're having a huge, massive impact on this course of human health. So that's what we all should be proud of. And that's the reason why you should bring it into the practice.
So obviously Maria told us what brought you guys here. What keeps you here?
Did Maria answer that?
Stop, kind of, but I want to hear it from you as well.
For
Is
me,
this like the newlywed game after 25 years?
well, I think like I said, for Maria, again, we all want to just help people, but I think the more impactful thing that people have to start to embrace is that, the financial aspect and showing people this business and throwing people a lifeline and showing them how that just by sharing these products with people that they can get their products paid for, but more importantly, they can help people financially in their financial situation because everyone has that, their health issues, but also financial ones too. So I think that's probably the most rewarding thing for me in this venture.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time out of your patience and coming on and speaking. So everyone, little bit of housekeeping before I close. I want to make sure that everyone does reach out either on Facebook Messenger. I went ahead and put it in the chat how to get a hold of me on Facebook Messenger, how to get a hold of me by email. So it is in the chat, and I'll leave that chat open for a little bit because I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you want to hear, who maybe you want on as a guest. I'd like to have Lisa Barnes on and have Lisa talk about what happens before they end up on our shelves, before we do a launch. I know there's a big launch coming up in October. I can't tell you what it is, but there is a big launch coming at Global in October. But people should know what she goes through before that can ever happen. I think that would be an interesting Dr. Jeff and Friends podcast. But this is what I want to close with. You don't have to have a weight problem. You don't have to have a hormone problem, but everyone has a systems problem. And this is where this comes in. We can actually not fix the everyday little things. We're going to fix the system, the whole human body as a system. And this is where everything changes. So for Dr. Jeff and Friends, this is where we challenge the system, we question the narrative, and we control where our health is going. I want you all to have a great week and to stay healthy, and see you in 2 more weeks. Love each and every one of you. Thank you to all my guests. Bye-bye.